How we doing today, guys? It's Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. And, sometimes it's good to look at some good news. We like to look at some good news around here. I try to at least find one a week. And now given this isn't like the happy puppy news that sometimes, everybody always likes and loves to adore and ooh and ah over, but for those of us on the political spectrum, those of us that really care about this kind of stuff, and those of us that are really paying attention, which I assume if you're watching this video, you are one of those people, and you need to share these videos with your friends so more of them can get informed as well. But here we go. So our bright news of the week. Democrats' own research reveals brutal assessment by Battleground Voters ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. Dun dun dun, there's Nancy Pelosi looking, ooh, I'm gonna get you all. And that little dog, too. Seriously, though, hey, she literally is the Wicked Witch of the West because she's from California. How did that never click in my head before? God, that's beautiful. All right, the Democratic Party faces a walloping in the 2022 midterm elections. That's a good word. That's a good word usage. I like that. Walloping's a good one. Indicated by polling and internal data, yet Democrats continue to blame Republicans for their poor standing with moderate voters. I don't know how you can blame that on the other side at this point. You guys are the ones in charge. You guys are the ones constantly running your mouths in front of the cameras. You've got MSNBC, CNN, and everybody else wrapped around your little finger with the exception of portions of Fox News. Good job projecting, guys. Trust me. It's all your own fault. Anyway, what are the details? So-called Battleground Voters, Americans who are politically moderate, offered a brutal assessment of the Democratic Party according to a recent internal data collected by the Democratic Party researchers. Those voters, according to Politico, described Democrats as preachy, judgmental, and focused on the culture wars. Really? No shit. Who hadn't noticed? Anyway. Yet the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee's strategy, according to Politico, is to blame the GOP for the culture war attacks, despite voters making clear that they believe the Democrats are hyper-focused on culture wars, which they are. Gender, anybody? Anybody? Male? Female? XY? XX? No? No? Okay. Indeed, Republicans have been successful at campaigning against the progressive agenda on two fronts, defund the police and critical race theory. Defund the police was a Democratic rallying cry in 2020, but now House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the movement is not the position of the Democratic Party, despite some members of the caucus holding on to it. And while CRT is not being taught in public schools per se, because it's a complicated legal theory developed by highly experienced lawyers, what is being taught is critical race theory praxis. Okay, so they're actually taking the ideas from critical race theory itself and implementing directly into the teachings of our children. That's how they're doing it. That's why they say, well, critical race theory isn't being taught. No, you're actually using real world examples for it and indoctrinating the kids with it instead. You're not actually teaching the theory itself. Because if you were teaching the theory itself, everybody would know it was bunk and you all were crazy. So instead, you just literally indoctrinate it right into the curriculum. But I digress. And well, yeah, there we go. Parents across the country believe tenets underlying CRT are being taught in schools. They're right, and we have the proof. Between politically motivated social justice lessons, pandemic restrictions, and school closures, parents have been demonstrating in recent months that Democrats are badly out of touch on the issue of schools. Look no further than Republican Glenn Youngkin's surprising victory in the Virginia gubernatorial race, and the recall of multiple members of the San Francisco School Board. If you did not hear about that, I highly recommend you go check that out. That was beautiful. It wasn't even close. They pulled three. They successfully recalled at least 3 of the San Francisco school boards, and it wasn't even close. It was like 27 to 80 or 27 to 73. It was an absolute blowout. It was a monster. Unfortunately for Democrats, the internal polling and focus group reveals that Democrats are particularly vulnerable on these issues. If Democrats do not answer for them, the GOP advantage over Democrats in the 2022 generic ballot balloons to 14 points. That's not a landslide. That's an obliteration in the modern era. That is an absolute obliteration if the GOP ends up winning by 14 points. That seems a little high, but man, you never know. But remains 4 to 6 points if Democrats address them, internal data showed. They're not going to. Too many of these people are COVID locked in, and they are going to keep on doubling down. And the problem is their base doesn't want to let it go. Their base of hardcore people do not want to let it go. The hardcore leftists do not want to let COVID stand go. Problem is all the moderates that went along with it in the beginning are like, screw this, we're done. We're done. So, I mean, either way, the Democrats are going to lose. If they position to the middle, they're going to lose their extreme base that's always backed them up and funded them the most. If they don't pivot, then they're going to lose the middle. I mean, either way, they're screwed. I can't see how there's any way they come out of the fall, the midterms, looking good at all. In fact, a recent internal presentation explained that Democrats need to demonstrate they fully understand and care about stressors in people's lives rather than stoking divisive cultural debates. In short, moderate voters believe that Democrats are out of touch, and they are hemorrhaging support among moderate left-leaning voters, independent voters, and Hispanic voters, Politico reported. How bad is it for Democrats? Aside from polling and internal research, two figures demonstrate the mammoth task Democrats face in 2022. First, 30 House Democrats have announced they will not seek re-election in 2022. Easy pickings, guys. Don't screw this up, GOP. Second, the DCC has compiled a list of House Democrats vulnerable to losing in 2022, which now includes 35 caucus members. Damn. This means that 1/4 of the House Democrats caucus is either retiring or could lose in 2022, making it next to impossible to hold off Republicans from retaking control of the Congress. Now, a lot of the time they underestimate these numbers, at least like the internal Democratic polling does, because they will estimate, we're going to lose 33 members, yada, 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 because they think that there are certain districts that are just, no matter what, they're always going to stay blue. They're always going to vote Democrat. But we've seen upsets. We even saw a lot of upsets like that in the 2020 election, for all the faults and issues that people claim that had. We still picked up a lot of seats in the House, and there was districts that the Democratic Party and even the Republican Party thought were solid blue and were not going to change, and we flipped them, So these were hard blue districts, and we flipped them. So there's no telling how big this wave is actually going to become fall. But like I said, I wanted to bring you some happy news. I think this is good news because now the Democrats are freaking out. They're completely and totally split. They have no idea what direction to go, and I think it's wonderful and a beautiful thing. But that's just my common sense take. This is Jesse with The Common Man, Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. Thanks, guys.